How do you pronounce your name?
Mamata.
Mamata.
Yeah.
M
A-M-A-T-A.
M A T Mamata.
Right.
It's a bunch of A's.
What?
Mamata.
A-T-A, yeah.
It's like A between everything.
Right.
Mamata, and your last name?
Misra. M-I-S-R-A.
Misra.
Yeah.
And what's your label?
I am called a certified MBSR teacher.
Certified MBSR teacher. Certified MBSR teacher. What questions do you have? You wanted to talk a little bit. Everything's rolling now, but I'll answer any questions and we can kind of have any type of preliminary discussion you want to have.
Right. No, I was concerned about the light because my eyes are sensitive. But this is fine.
Yeah.
I wanted I had questions about the format, but I have watched a few of your recordings, so I kind of get an idea.
Yeah, there's like 5 questions and then really a life story of like what brought you to the path that you walk, what brought you to being
And what are the 5 questions? Remind me. I know something about success.
Well, we'll come up with Phil Phails. Like each episode has Phil Phails at something.
Okay.
And we'll come up with that together.
Okay.
It'll be kind of the focus or a topic that influences the whole discussion.
Okay.
MBSR is the Mindfulness-Based Stress Reduction, and I've done that. I did it with I did it online with David. I forget his name now. I'm blanking. But what do you think? What do you think we'd fail at around MBSR, or from what you're a master at? You're a mentor or a teacher to me at something.
I actually wanted to, well, it's nice that you spell fail differently than F-A-I-L.
Yeah.
And so you can do it anything you want because it's a different kind of failing.
It is.
And so I wanted to address that. So I don't know if you want to keep it simple, you want to just name it MBSR.
Phil Phails at MBSR.
I mean, just to keep it simple.
Well, it's interesting you'd say keep it simple because most people probably don't know what MBSR is.
Right.
I think we'll probably explore that. But what does MBSR provide for people? Maybe because that would be maybe what we fail at. And MBSR is the pathway that we use to get there. Would it be peacefulness or acceptance of what is, or being with?
Yeah, I mean, all of those actually. Being okay with how things are.
Like loving what is, kind of a Byron Katie thing.
Yeah, I mean, but if you want to keep it short, just stress.
Phil Phails at stress.
Stress reduction is the...
Yeah, Phil Phails at stress.
Yeah. And
everybody will know what stress is.
Yeah. I mean, that's the new word for suffering.
Yeah.
So, in old days, Buddha went to the forest to find an answer for suffering. And now we call it stress.
Yeah. Stress, anxiety.
Yeah.
I like that. Phil Phails at stress.
Okay.
It'll be easy.
Yeah. And whichever way you interpret it.
Yeah.
Fails at managing stress, or fails at stress, meaning is okay with stress. You could read it either way.
Yeah. Being with stress. Yeah, you could read that any time away. And so your title is Certified MBSR Teacher.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Mamata Misra.
Mm-hmm.
Phails at stress. Is there anything that you feel like I should know that'd be helpful as we discuss things? I'll ask you things like your background and things like that. We'll get those out. But is there anything you really want to have showcased while we talk?
I think it'll come out
Naturally.
naturally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And back before you were the only one in Austin doing MBSR. Is that still true?
Actually, there were two people.
Oh, there was one.
And my friend Geeta used to do it, and she used to live in South Austin,
Right.
and that's where she taught. And I live in more North Central, and that's where I taught.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was nice. But now she has left Austin. So now I don't know if anyone else is doing, but trained in the same way I was trained through UMass and now Brown. I might be the only one. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, we won't speak to that since we don't know, but you're certainly one of the few, if not only.
Yeah. I mean, there are some other people who do teach, maybe not MBSR, maybe the other one, MBCT, which is called Mindfulness-Based Cognitive Therapy. So some doctors or psychologists might be teaching that. And that is, again, mindfulness-based, derived from MBSR. So many other programs have been derived. So now they call them MBPs, meaning mindfulness-based programs.
I didn't know that. And they're all John Kabat-Zinn kind of
based on
umbrellaed.
That. But so John designed this for a, totally diverse, heterogeneous group of participants. But then other professionals, they felt that, oh, wouldn't it be nice to do it for this kind of people? So for people who have depression and anxiety, and doctors or psychologists who are providing them medical therapy of some kind, they said, oh, it would be nice to do something along mindfulness-based program. And so they came up with mindfulness-based cognitive therapy. So it's a little bit different, but it's for a homogeneous group.
What does homogeneous mean?
Meaning people who have the one particular kind of problem, like specializing to that. Whereas John designed it for a heterogeneous group, meaning people with all kinds of problems, or people who think they have a problem dealing with, people who think they're having stress. But initially he had designed it for, shall I go ahead, tell a little bit about how it came about?
Yeah, we'll do that. Well, let me get it started, and then we're getting off to the races, which is great. Okay. It's perfect. I'll do a little introduction.
Okay.
Mamata Misra. Mamata, am I saying that right still? Yeah. Mamata is a foreign name to me. I don't think I've ever heard that name before. So I'm nervous that I won't say it right, but I think I got it. Mamata Misra, certified MBSR teacher, and Phails at stress. I'll go ahead and introduce us and we can get started. I mean, we're recording now, but then we'll be kind of starting officially. Can we clap together? Does your arm allow you to clap?
Yeah. That's another thing.
What about snap?
I can snap. Can I snap with my left hand? I can snap with my right.
Let's snap together.
Okay.
Ready?
Okay.
Let's see if we can do it at the same time. Yeah, that's perfect. Welcome to Phails. My name is Philip Jones, and today I'm joined by Mamata Misra. She is a certified MBSR teacher. You want to wave to everybody? They're in these cameras. MBSR is the mindfulness-based stress reduction. It's what would you call it? It's a format or a system?
I would call it a course or a program.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's a course or program.
8-week program.
And it was designed by Jon Kabat-Zinn.
Right.
To help folks with stress, reducing stress.
Right.
So today, Phil fails at stress.
Great.
Yeah. And we're going to talk about the mindfulness-based stress reduction system or program. We're also going to talk about stress. We're going to talk about probably mindfulness.
Mm-hmm.
What else do you think? What other topics do you think surround this discussion?
I think the main thing is to understand where stress is coming from. And that's what we develop in this course, that understanding. And it develops in a natural way. It consists of many practices we do. And it's a very experiential, practice-based program. And there is a curriculum we follow, but it's very much dependent on the people who are taking it and their experience, where they are at, and what they get out of it. So it's not like you do this and it's going to be okay.
Yeah. It's
more like exploration. You try this and see if it works for you.
And I have tried it. I've have certification or whatever you get when you've completed the 8-week course. I did the 8-week mindfulness-based stress reduction about, I don't know, it was probably maybe eight or 10 years ago. Okay. I had a really challenging time in my life. I think it was around 2014, so it must have been around 10 years ago.
Okay.
I had some real challenges and kind of like I don't know if you call it a breakdown or just some real existential crisis. And the MBSR was one of the things I invited into my life to find my way.
Uh-huh. So did it help you?
Oh, yeah. It was the beginning of a meditation practice for me.
Yeah.
It was also a way of understanding my mindset, the way I thought about my experience.
Uh-huh.
I learned a lot. Let's talk a little bit about the system. If it's still the same when I did it, it was for 8 weeks, you would meditate for 45 minutes a day.
Right.
And you would also set aside a couple hours a week for more didactic, like lesson time, where you learn certain things, or you'd read articles and digest them.
The way I have done it is you meet with the class once a week. Mm-hmm. And it's a long class, 2.5 hours long.
Yeah.
And you practice for about an hour in class, mm-hmm. Where the teacher guides you with the practice. There are different kinds of practices you do. And then the other half of the time, there are activities, small groups, large group discussions about what happened in your practice. And in that process, you learn. So, and then you get home practice mm-hmm. To do. You have to set aside at least 45 minutes, 5 days a week to do it on your own. But you would be provided with records, guided to guide you. So you can just play the audio recordings, and just do it on your own at home. So that's kind of how it works, 8 classes like that. But there is also one class which is a all-day class. It's a 7-hour class.
Yeah.
And so that happens between the 6th and 7th class. So by class 6, participants have learned all the different kinds of practices and the small elements of each practice. And so they have a whole day in silence. A little bit, I try to find a quiet place and access to nature, so they can do walking meditation also. So basically they are silent and they do all the practices one after the other, alternating between stillness and movement. So it's like half an hour to 45 minutes sit, half an hour to 45-minute move.
Yeah.
All day.
And when you say practice, these are meditation, types of meditation.
Yeah.
Whether it's a metta or a loving kindness meditation or a body scan.
Yeah.
Or a focus on the breath.
Right.
Or noting, where thoughts come and go and you note them and then release them. And there's a bunch of these practices within the context of meditation.
That's right. I mean, you can call them meditation, but we also do movements. So basically, there are 4 sequenced guided recordings that we do. Body scan, and there is a yoga movement sequence that you do lying down. There is a yoga movement sequence you do standing. Then we also do eating meditation, mindful eating.
Oh yeah, I've watched.
Remember that?
I know that from, I remember doing that. We ate a raisin.
Right.
You eat a raisin for like 30 minutes or like a long time. I also remember the Thich Nhat Hanh book, Savor, I think is his book about mindful eating.
Yeah. And then, so we do all this, and then slowly we do, the last thing we do is the whole 45-minute sit. But along the line, people have been at home doing elements of that. Basically, how to get grounded, how to get anchored, and I'll talk about what anchored means.
Yeah.
So they have been practicing all of that. And then by class 5, we do the whole sitting, paying attention to the mind. But first, we work on the body. That's why we do the body scan and the mindful movements for the first 4 weeks with breath awareness and trying with different anchors, sounds, neutral parts of the body, like your hands.
Yeah.
Anything that will help you to come to the present moment. So we do those. And then class 6, we do a whole session devoted to mindful speech and listening. Because a lot of people have their stress coming from their habitual communication patterns, either in family or at work. So we have a whole class devoted to just that. Communication, mindful communication. Although in every class we do mindful communication. The whole 2.5 hours is just seamless mindfulness. Moving, whatever you do it mindfully. So that's why we do all that. And then mindful walking, that's also a mindful movement. A lot of kindness and self-care is built into it, all of it. We do the loving kindness practice at the retreat, because that's not something that's given as a home practice in the curriculum. All these other 4 are given. In the retreat, we do all those, and we add the metta practice, loving kindness practice, and also there is another one we do called mountain. Did you all do that?
I think we did mountain.
Mountain, yeah.
Yeah.
That's more about, to me, it's about equanimity.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
How to be okay with whatever happens.
Yeah, to be okay, to accept the present moment as
Yeah.
it is without
Yeah.
aversion or attachment
Yeah.
or grasping.
Right. So all of that works, and it works in a step-by-step. So talking about the class format,
Mm-hmm.
So first class, we build trust
Yeah.
with the group, because all these strangers are coming together. They don't know each one. Are they going to open up with one another? So
Yeah.
trust building. We do a class agreement together.
Mm-hmm.
So everybody says what is their need, and how do we honor that. So we do that. First, in class 1, we do body scan and the raisin eating.
Yeah.
Raisin eating is really good because it explains what mindfulness is.
Yeah.
To do to eat with all your 5 senses,
Yeah.
but one at a time.
Yeah. You take it and you roll the raisin in your finger, and
You first look at it.
You look at it.
And
notice all the wrinkles in the raisin and the you do.
Yeah.
Smell it.
Yeah.
Roll it around.
And
Hearing.
hearing.
Does it sound like?
Has anyone ever heard a raisin?
Yeah.
But some people get surprised. Oh, I can hear something. Some people cannot, and some people can.
Yeah.
So
we invite all 5 senses into the present moment and into our our awareness, our awareness of what's present.
Right. And also what is there that is not visible.
Mm-hmm.
So bringing in the mind element. So what's in the raisin that you can't see, hear, smell, taste, and touch? And then people come up with answer. Oh, we can't see the whole agricultural process.
The universe is in that raisin.
Right.
It was a grape.
Yeah.
It was a seed.
Right.
It was soil.
Yeah.
It was a farmer's dream of, farming. It was
all of that.
Maybe under the water at some point. Texas was all over underwater at some point.
Right.
And then in the future, it's like you can go either forward or backward with this raisin and see the universe.
Right. So all of that, and then I tell them in the class that, okay, so we took however minutes, 15 minutes to eat a raisin. At home. You don't have to eat every bite taking 15 minutes. You can't do anything else. But you can invite all your senses to your eating.
Yeah.
And do it exactly at the same time, but pay attention to what you're eating,
where it came from,
and the smell, the taste, the sound, the sound of chewing. Yeah. And a lot of things are bad manner here. My children always reminded me, eat with your mouth closed.
Yeah.
Well, then you can't hear yourself chewing. So of course you will have your table manners and all that, but you can still invite all your senses to your eating.
You increase the fidelity of the experience.
Yeah.
You say, I'm going to enrich. It's enriching.
Yeah.
It's like an enrichment of saying, I'm going to crank up the volume on this meal with just the smell. Let me just
Yeah.
be with the smell for a second.
Right.
Let me be with, what does this look like? You're just,
Yeah.
it's a feast for all the senses.
Right. And then people report, oh, eating is much more meaningful.
Yeah.
I don't need to turn the TV on anymore when I'm eating.
Yeah. Well, you've got this episode of lasagna, or this episode of your entertainment is this
Right.
feast.
Yeah. So same way, body scan. We have been living far away from our bodies.
Yeah.
We are living in our heads.
Mm-hmm.
So, when we start the body scan, we start from the toes.
Yep.
One toe, one big toe.
Mm-hmm.
And, so sometimes people have difficulty. Where is my toe? Right?
Yeah.
And it's not about visualizing. It's not like you are up there and looking down at the image of your body. It's not that. It's feeling the body.
Mm-hmm.
And so people say, I can't feel anything. And then that's okay, but wiggle your toes. They'll tell you where they are.
Yeah.
And then take your attention there.
To the wiggle.
To the wiggle.
Yeah.
And then keep it still after the wiggling is over, after you know where they are.
Mm-hmm.
And then, either you feel something or you don't feel anything. But it's about listening to the body's signal.
Yeah.
Which we did somewhere, our ancestors did when we were, living in the trees or caves or wherever. Mm-hmm. But now that we only live in our mind, we forget about the body. But there's so much wisdom in the body.
Yeah.
So connecting with the wisdom of the body. So many signals are coming. And that's the beginning, because, what is stress anyway? Is it just in your mind, or does it show up in your body?
Yeah.
So unless you learn to listen to your body, you will miss the signals of stress. So that's where we start.
Yeah.
So body scan, 2 weeks.
2 weeks. Yeah.
And then being aware of the breath, the anchoring. So that's the other thing. The body is always in the present moment.
Yeah.
The mind goes to the past, goes to the future.
Yeah.
And the body is right here, telling you
right here.
What's happening right now.
Right now.
And then there is this, so there are all these different components. One is paying attention to the present moment. Mm-hmm. Then it has to be intentional.
Yeah, with intention.
With intention. So this is a class for adults. It's not a class for children. And a lot of times children do things because adults tell them, do this, don't do this. Mm-hmm. But for adults, it has to be intentional. So unless your intention is there, you won't get it. Your mind will go somewhere else. But if your intention is strong enough, it will help you to stay still or move or whatever it is that you're doing.
Yeah.
So that's a big part of it. To really, really take your intention into your bones. Really deep intention. And that will carry you through. When people say meditation is hard.
Yeah.
And the third component, very, very important, is the non-judgment.
Non-judgmental stance. Yeah.
Yeah. And then so how do you become non-judgmental? People will say that I can't do that. Judgments are coming all the time.
Yeah.
I'm not good at this. This is too hard. And all those things are coming. So how do I become non-judgmental all of a sudden? Mm-hmm. Well, you don't have to. You see what will help to be non-judgmental. So bring in curiosity. Mm-hmm. Bring in kindness. Mm-hmm. So when we are judgmental, we are too hard.
Yeah.
So softening about it.
Or rigid. There's a rigidness with judgment.
Yeah, exactly.
It's quick and it
Yeah.
closes the world down.
Right.
It's the
So
murder of curiosity and open-mindedness
exactly.
and exploration.
Exactly. So there won't be any room for judgment if you have curiosity and kindness.
Yeah.
So judgment would fall. So judgment will come because of habit, but then you become non-judgmental toward the judgment.
It's interesting. This program isn't for children, yet it seems like it's inviting a childlike
Exactly.
orientation to
Yeah.
things.
You
Be
can call
curious, play.
you can call it childlike. So that's the thing. We were all curious.
Yeah.
That's how we started.
Before we knew.
Before we became, cultured,
Yeah.
quote unquote, then all the shoulds and shouldn'ts
Yeah.
were defined for us. So we kind of, all our curiosity went away. So one way to look at it is be like a child. The other way to look at it would be a scientist.
Yeah. Yeah.
Explore, experiment, see if it works.
Yeah.
And so that's the thing. It's not this way or that way. Is it? You find out.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about MBSR and Jon Kabat-Zinn. Jon Kabat-Zinn is the founder of MBSR.
Yeah, designer. Yeah.
The designer. He's one of the, if I'm not mistaken, there was a time in America's history when some folks went to the East and, discovered, or they didn't discover it, it was there.
Right.
They harvested this technology, this, Buddhism. It's a part of a couple different Hinduism, and they brought that back to America. And Jon Kabat-Zinn is one of them.
So I'm not sure if John went east or he learned in the United States from Eastern monks.
Okay.
He may have done that. The founders of the Insight Meditation Society went east, spent many years in monasteries in different places. And then they came back and experimented, maybe modified it a little bit to make it more easier for the Western body.
Yeah.
And the modern times. But they retained the gist of it, the basic teaching. So so you're thinking probably about the founders of the Insight Meditation Society. But I'm not sure if Jon Kabat-Zinn went east or he learned. But what I do know is that when he was doing his PhD at MIT, he had already learned how to meditate. And he had found out that it was helping him to go through the stress of grad school. And then he got his PhD and he joined UMass Medical School. John was a molecular biologist, not a physician, but his friends were. So one day he asked his friends, Western medicine, cure chronic pain and mental health problems, things that really make people suffer? Do we have a cure for it right now? And I'm talking about 70s, maybe late 70s. And the answer was yes and no. Yes, they do get better to some extent. No, because it's not a cure, because many of them come back after some time. So some people feel better and they can manage Some people come back, and when they do come back, a lot of times we increase the dose.
Yeah.
Okay. So John said, I have an idea. We are all scientists, can we do an experiment? And the experiment would be, you do whatever you do, the medicine therapy, but give them the option to come meditate with me. And we'll just see. And we will do a control group,
Yeah.
So that's how the experiment started. And all the doctor friends supported John's efforts. Said, yeah, that's a good idea. And so it started, and the results were amazing. It's not what most physicians had expected. Basically, they found two things. One is that there were more people in the meditating group that said that they felt better and they can manage on their own. So they didn't come back. Then there were others who did come back, but among the people who did come back, the duration, the time frame after which they came back, that time frame was longer than in the group that was not meditating.
So in the meditating group, they either didn't come back at all or it took them a longer time before they came back. Is that
Right.
called recidivism?
Yes,
Something like that.
in prisons it's called. I don't know what it's called for
Oh, yeah, that's in
patients.
prison.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they either
Yeah.
were cured,
Yeah.
their
Or they thought they
orientation
were,
or the
right.
relationship with their ailment had dissipated so that they didn't need any more help,
Yeah.
or it took a longer time than the control group where they were just probably treating them with drugs or surgeries or something.
Right. Yeah. So so that encouraged all the physicians who were telling their patients. So they said, okay, this is a good thing. Let's continue the research. And more doctors started referring them to the program. And this was the program that John had started at UMass Medical School. And I think there was almost a group of 5,000 doctors who were referring their patients that you have this option to try. And then John was teaching them alone. And then he said, no, this is big. This has so much potential.
Yeah.
So this is really a great public health initiative, and it should be grown and made bigger. So then they started the teacher training program. And let's get more teachers to be trained and be able to teach this.
Yeah.
So so that's how it came about. And then now, there are thousands and thousands of teachers all around the world teaching the same course. Some of the things have changed. The curriculum is more or less the same. We follow the curriculum, yet we also bring in our own practice, our own experience, even our own background.
Yeah.
Because we are all different. So the way of teaching can be different. And the way of teaching could also depend on the group.
Yeah.
Because they also are contributing to it.
Yeah.
So it's like the curriculum is like if I can use a metaphor of a river. So if the curriculum is like the riverbed and the banks, but the water that flows is the people.
Yeah. And it changes the
It
rank.
changes.
The
changes.
bottom. Yeah.
Yeah.
Depending on how much water and its force.
Yeah.
Maybe there's things in the water like limbs or
all of it.
rocks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What falls on the river,
Yeah.
whether there is more rain, less rain, flooding.
Yeah. And you're one of these teachers.
I am one of these teachers, part of this huge world community.
Yeah. How long have you been teaching MBSR? When did you get your certificate?
So it works in two steps. First, you go through the training that takes like a couple of years.
Mm-hmm.
And then you get qualified to teach. And then you start teaching.
Yeah.
And then after you have taught so many courses, then you go through another phase where you work through a master teacher, a mentor,
Mm-hmm.
and someone with whom you can discuss, what is going easy for you, what's hard, and sort of try to improve your teaching. And then you go through an assessment with another teacher who would actually look at your videos.
Mm-hmm.
And, so that's the certification process. So it takes a while. So I believe I got qualified to teach in 2016. I started on my path in 2014, around the same time you did.
Yeah.
You took MBSR.
Yeah.
And then initially I wasn't sure. I was thinking, what attracted me to this program is that it was a true combination of the Eastern philosophy, Eastern psychology, whatever you want to call it, Eastern wisdom, and the Western science and Western medicine.
Yeah.
So they called it complementary medicine, not alternative medicine. There are alternative medicines, like people would do this or that.
Yeah.
I know I have friends who would never take Western medicine or allopathic medicine. They would treat themselves with homeopathy or naturopathy, something alternative. Or there are friends who would only take Chinese medicine, but not this. Some people I know who would only take Ayurvedic medicine, which is, very Indian, ancient, another system. But this was developed in the modern times, in a modern medical school. So it has the stamp of the medical school. Doctors are sending their patients. Yet it has the Eastern wisdom all encapsulated inside the curriculum. And this secular part of it attracted me because, meditation is taught in so many religious, spiritual, organizational settings. And I have done that before. But then that restricts to a certain class of people who feel they belong there, and they'll go there. But if it's secular, it's like public school. Everybody can go there.
Yeah.
Anybody can go
Some
there.
people say that Jon Kabat-Zinn took the Buddhism out of meditation, or took the religion. That's what when you say secular.
The ceremonial things are gone.
There's no chanting.
Buddhist, the way Buddha taught it, it wasn't really a religion, right?
Yeah.
He just went to find the answer to suffering. He never talked about God.
Yeah. And you could even see Buddhism as a complementary.
Exactly. If people asked him, big questions, he said, I don't know anything other than what I have experienced.
Yeah. Experience is my teacher.
Yeah.
And I'll share that with you.
I'll share that with you, but you have to experience it yourself to know. So that part was retained.
Yeah.
So the essence was always retained within MBSR. So the wisdom wasn't lost, the method wasn't lost,
No.
but it got the validation from the medical community.
Yeah.
So it became more accessible. And so that's what attracted me to this.
Talk to me a little bit about your background, your experience in
Okay.
meditation, in the mindfulness community. I know you've done retreats and been a part of different communities.
Right.
Where did you do the MBSR certification? Was that at UMass?
So started with UMass. I qualified at UMass, and then what year was that? When the teacher training program within the medical school, it was called, so there were two things going on in the medical school UMass. There was the stress clinic that John Kabat-Zinn had started. Then there was the teacher training center that was training teachers. So around COVID time, I think maybe a little bit before that. Before that, 2017, something like that. I was qualified in 2016, and then around 2017, 2018, the UMass Medical School, some of the teachers started moving to Brown University, where a new mindfulness center opened. And many of my teachers moved there. So, and then the medical center, UMass Medical Center's teacher training, the whole center, mindfulness center, closed. And the Brown University, which had all my teachers by then, they opened it, saying that those of you who started there and but haven't finished, you can come to us and we will walk you through.
Yeah, the remainder of your...
The remainder. So I finished there. So I got certified there by the same teachers, pretty much. Yeah.
And then what's your other experience with mindfulness, insight? I think you said you've been to different...
retreats.
Yeah.
Yeah. So as part of your teacher training, you have to do a lot of retreats. So it's like, that's why it takes so long. It's not just like, taking the MBSR course is the beginning. Sometimes this is a little bit, I don't know why they think it this way. Sometimes people come to me and say that, oh, if I take your course, then would you certify me so I can teach it? So that would be like, if I pass high school, can I teach high school? Right?
Yeah.
You have to go through the teacher training,
Right.
And it takes time. So, but specifically in MBSR, you have to teach it from your embodiment in the practice. And to be embodied in your practice, you have to practice a lot. And that's why you go to these retreats, where you can practice for long times, many days, multiple days.
Yeah.
So then when I thought about retreat, I asked my friend Gita, with whom I had done the first MBSR in Austin. I have actually taken it twice with her, the 8-week program, before I became a teacher.
Yeah.
So she said that, if you're going to take a retreat, take it with one of the founders of the Insight Meditation Society. So she said you can take it with Jack Cornfield, Joseph Goldstein. So I did my first retreat with Jack Cornfield, and that was just amazing.
At Spirit Rock.
At Spirit Rock, yeah. And that was really amazing. And I almost fell in love with Spirit Rock. I don't know, something about that whole beautiful Have you been there?
I haven't been.
Yeah, it's really located, there are these mountains and trails and animals, birds.
It's north of San Francisco, right?
It's kind of northwest. Um, there is a road that goes to Point Reyes from 101 all the way to the west, and it's somewhere in the middle there. Sir Francis Dick, what is the name of the? It's a long name.
You fell in love though with
I
Spirit
fell
Rock.
in love with that whole, the whole setup. The people were so kind, and Jack was wonderful. He helped me a lot. So that, and then next year I did one. I thought, it would be nice to do a retreat with each of the founders.
Yeah.
Because people get old, they retire. I wanted to,
Experience their wisdom, in person.
Before it's late. So the next year I did it with Joseph Goldstein. And I kind of repeated. I made it a point to go once a year to Spirit Rock, and I did it at least 10 days, 10 days. And then slowly I increased the time. The longest I've done is 18 days. I haven't done a month long yet. I'd applied to one, didn't get in. It was one of those lottery things.
Yeah.
And so that has been my experience. So what happens is, so there are two things you do. You practice on concentration, on your breath. And doing that for some time sort of calms you down. And then you open up your awareness to include everything.
Yeah.
So after being well concentrated and anchored, grounded, when you open up, it depends, but when you are least expecting, some insight would just pop up. And it would always be related to your own context, so that it'll mean something to you. It may not, it will be something different for different people. But, something you really haven't thought about or done any reading, scholarly reading or anything like that, and it would just pop up,
You'll get an insight.
Yeah, just an insight. Then that's why it's called an insight. Yeah. But the thing is that it doesn't always happen. So one shouldn't be disappointed if it didn't happen.
Yeah.
If the conditions are right, then it'll happen. It's all dependent on so many other things. The first time I went, I was crying the whole time. Really. I mean, I had lost my father not long before that. And I don't know if I had a lot of grief inside me that needed to come out. And then it was such a beautiful, peaceful surrounding. And I was crying, and I didn't know if I was crying out of sadness or happiness. I really didn't know. It was such a weird mixture. And I told Jack, I said, I don't know if I'm crying because I'm happy or I'm sad. And Jack said something like, there is, in other cultures, there is a word that it can be either or, it can be anything,
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter why you are crying, but where do you feel it? And, so he had his way of taking me back to my body.
Yeah. Instead of interpreting the emotion, be with the emotion.
Exactly. The why is not important.
Yeah.
What is happening now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What is that emotion there?
Yeah.
What are you feeling in your body?
Yeah. And then the other thing that has happened to me is that, when you are meditating, all these elements come in. You may feel hot or cold, or you may, feel light or heavy. There was a time when it was like my bottom part of my body was heavy like a rock, and the top part of my body was so light, and I was part of me was wanting to fly, and part of me was stuck to the ground.
Yeah.
And so, and I talked to Jack about it, and he would again bring me back to the body. And he would say that, okay, so where are you feeling it? And so then he said that, how big is it? What's the area? What's the shape of it?
What color is it? Yeah, all
Yeah,
those things.
all those things. And then he would say, so can you go to the outside of it or the edge of it?
Yeah.
And can you find a place that's neutral? So all of those things have helped me to, find but once he took me through that, and then after that, somehow I never had that. So I didn't know, maybe I was trying too hard. I was new, it was my first retreat.
He was leading you back to your body.
He was leading me back to my body to let the body's wisdom take care of
Yeah,
me.
we talked earlier about a preference for our mind now.
Yeah,
We're thinking so
exactly,
much, and the
exactly.
thinking's in the past or in the future,
Yeah.
interpreting, judgment.
And even when it's in the present, it's the head trying to interpret it.
Yeah.
Making
sense of things
making
instead of
sense
just
of things.
being with.
Yeah. And then at some point when that happened, the top person trying to fly and the bottom person is heavy like a rock. And then some sort of fear, I think, came. And Jack was trying to point me very gently to that and guiding me to feel where I'm feeling the fear in my body. So that's what helped. And then it never came. It never came after that. And then other kinds of things that I have experienced is that, so sometimes you just go to the retreat thinking that, okay, I'm leaving all my problems behind. I'm going to have a great time there. And then you go there and you notice that your problems have come with you.
They stowaways on your
Yeah,
luggage.
exactly. So I was thinking, before I went there, I think the day before we were talking about somebody who was making other people's life harder. It happens. We are all human. So, so I was thinking about that, and then I went to the retreat, and all of a sudden I noticed that, oh, I was thinking about this person, and then I said, oh, I thought I left you there. But you were here. And then the thing, okay, if you're here, you can have a seat. But I am in the retreat. You can have a seat, but I'm in the retreat.
Yeah.
So, these kinds of things, tiny, in small ways, you could see how the teaching and your practice together are helping you deal with small things.
Letting go.
Letting go, letting be.
Yeah.
Yeah. You have to let be before it would let go.
Yeah, let be. Yeah, being with something.
Yeah.
Just like those things that never came again. You gave them your attention, your awareness.
Yeah.
And then you're able to release them because you were able to hold space for them.
Right. Right. And then in the later retreats, again, wonderful insights have come, Again, they are in the context of, I grew up not as a Buddhist, but as a Hindu. And my previous study or practice or contemplative practice, I would say, had been more in the Vedantic tradition. So going to different teachers who teach in that tradition. So there are similarities between Buddhist ideas and Vedantic ideas. There are also misunderstandings, debates for, hundreds and thousands of years. One thing that had always puzzled me was Buddhists talk about emptiness,
And the
and
emptiness of emptiness. Yeah.
and Vedantins talk about wholeness, fullness.
It's
Okay.
almost the opposite.
Yeah, opposite. And then in the retreats I have gone to, I have been able to bring these two concepts together. It depends on the perspective from which you look at. And then even in MBSR, it's such a small course, just 2 months.
Yeah.
But you can learn so much.
Yeah.
And apply it. And my job is just to facilitate that process.
Yeah.
It's not like I have wisdom that I would give anybody. It's that everybody has the wisdom, and I kind of try to see how they can open their own pathway to access that.
Yeah.
So all of these things, I think I learned by practicing and spending so much time at the retreats. That would not have happened without going to those retreats.
Yeah. You needed those contemplative moments and those teachers, the connection to the teachers.
Exactly.
To give you a roadmap to insights, a way to think through your experience.
Yeah. And then that, and I have gone to, so Jack had always said, go to different teachers.
Who are the teachers that you've gone to in your life? I
have taken courses from Jack and Joseph, I mentioned. Then, there would be in this multi-day retreats, there would be multiple teachers.
Right.
So usually there would be one person whose name comes first.
Yeah, kind of like at a big festival, like a concert. Right. You have like the Red Hot Chili Peppers, and that's Jack Cornfield.
But they all act like equals.
Yeah.
But you can see. So then lately, I have done courses with Guy and Jill Armstrongs, and then Philip Moffat, and Tweri Sala. So a lot of different teachers.
Yeah.
I'm in a year-long online program with Tweri and Brian something. Nowadays I forget names a lot.
Yeah, it's okay.
Yeah. So this online one is interesting. Again, it's based on a book on emptiness, actually. The course is on emptiness. So emptiness still, I still want to understand it more. What it's about. Because, so there are these Buddhist concepts, impermanence, everything changes. So we do that in MBSR. Okay? So, you feel this itch. Okay, so what happens if you don't do anything?
Yeah, let it rise and fall.
And then you see that, it rises and falls.
That's what I found when I first started meditating.
Yeah.
I would notice my whole body would almost itch. There'd be like different itches would pop up, and it can be really challenging to let those itches rise and fall.
Yeah. So, you start with that. And then in MBSR, we would focus first day, we would do that. And second week, we focus on what is pleasant.
What is pleasant?
What is pleasant? How do you know that it's pleasant? How do you feel it? And then how do you react to it? Does it stay pleasant all the time?
Yeah.
What happens when it goes away?
Yeah.
So do you want more of it? Are there two kinds of pleasant? Ones that you want more of it and ones that you are able to let go of? So what are those?
Yeah.
And people would say, oh, I watched this beautiful flower or beautiful sunset. Yeah, when you see a beautiful sunset, you don't grab the sun, please stay.
Yeah, it's pleasant because
It's
of
pleasant.
its
The
scarcity.
oh,
It only happens for that moment.
yeah, and
You've been there.
you've been there,
You're
and the
present.
experience stays with you.
Yeah.
So we talk about those kinds of things. So that's how we go into this grasping and clinging. Where is it coming from?
Yeah.
Okay, so we talk about our perception before we go into the pleasant. Say how the perception, how you perceive something, plays into your stress. What you see and what you miss. So, and in MBSR class, we read a lot of poems, a lot of stories, metaphors. So instead of making it there have been so many scientific studies on this, but instead of, making it a medical class where you present the papers or the results, it's not a conference type of class. It's more of a way how people can relate to it in their own life.
Yeah.
People can make sense of poetry. People can make sense of stories and metaphors. So we do that instead of boring data and
Read this
graphs.
peer-reviewed
Yeah, exactly.
publication.
Look at this chart.
Oh my goodness.
We had to do that.
Yeah.
To in our teacher training.
Yeah.
We had to read a lot of papers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can I ask? I'll ask you the 5 questions about Phails at stress now.
Okay.
These are going to be questions, about stress and how. Well, I'll just go through them. The first one would be, how would someone fail at stress?
Okay. The PHAIL fail.
Or the FAIL fail. Yeah. Either one.
So, and you have the other side of it, how one succeeds, right?
That's the second question.
Can I take them together? Because I think they're related.
So I'm asking both questions. Yeah. How do you succeed
fail.
and how do you fail? Yeah.
So I think these terms, success and failure, they need some criteria, right? So what are the criteria for success and what are the criteria for failure? When, say, you are taking an exam, you have a very precise criteria. If you get this many points, you pass. If you get less than that, you fail. But life isn't like that, right? Is it?
No.
Is there a test where somebody grades you, marks you? No, but we have our own perceptions of success and failure, right? And they are dependent on some value systems we have, either ingrained in us by society, by cultures, by what we have heard in our childhood, and we have somehow either questioning or not questioning, we have made them our own.
Yeah.
And that's what is defining success or failure, right? And it's usually based on something I have or not have, right? Some people may think that I will be successful if I'm rich, right? Some people may think that I'll be successful if I have a good family, right? So people have different criteria for their success or failure. Now, suppose your criteria is, as a scientist or as a child having fun, your criteria of success is to just try this.
Yeah.
Okay? And it's not dependent on the result. You may have a hypothesis.
It's kind of like science. Whether you get a positive or negative result, getting a result is the success.
Exactly.
That
Getting
you
the
got a
answer.
result. Yeah.
Getting the answer is the success. And then you can never fail.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So it depends on,
So maybe in this context, true failure would be not to ask the questions.
Yeah.
To never experiment.
Right. If you don't even try it, if you have made up your mind.
Yeah.
Before.
To be closed-minded.
Yeah.
But to succeed is to ask the question and do an experiment and see.
Yeah.
Let experience be
whatever the result is you will always succeed.
Is a success.
Yeah. So that's why I wanted to take these two together.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
Just like in MBSR or in Buddhism, you take, gain or loss. So I talked about the pleasant, and then we go to the unpleasant, because the unpleasant, that will lead to stress, right? So that's how but if you are okay and you know that it's changing, it's not permanent anyway. So then, if your perception changes, everything changes.
Everything changes.
Yeah.
Yeah. For some reason, what came to mind was yin yang, this chaos order, and all these binaries: good, bad, pleasant, unpleasant.
Exactly.
Attachment,
Gain,
avoidance,
loss.
all these things. It seems like it makes sense now, the value of this middle way that's always spoken about. I think it's Manyamaka. This middle way, whether it's the Tao or in Buddhism, the Buddha talked about the middle way.
Yeah.
This between these strong polarities.
Yeah.
Attachment, aversion, all these things, finding a knife's edge across them. And in the context of success and failure, success seems to be experimenting with an open mind.
Right.
Giving your awareness to what comes out.
Yeah.
Kind of non-judgmentally, and just saying, now I know more about the world.
Yeah.
And the knowing more is the success.
Right.
Now I know what happens when I do that.
I know this.
I know this.
Yeah. This is what I wanted to find an answer to. And for right now, this is the answer.
Yeah.
It may change.
Because of impermanence, right?
Things may change. Conditions may change.
Yeah. And then failure would be to have that concrete mindset, the mind that doesn't do the experiment, the mind that is closed off to experience.
Yeah.
The mind that...
Then you'll never try. You'll never try. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense to me.
If you don't take the first step, you won't get anywhere, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So we did those two binaries. Question 3, what do you think, what are the benefits of stress?
Okay. So again, it's a continuum, right? So people talk about different zones we go through. So there's the comfort zone, where, it's your teddy bear. Maybe you're something that's easy, you feel relaxed. It can be just your bed, sleep. It can be some of your practice, the calmness you feel after the practice. That could be something you like. So something that nourishes you. Okay, you feel good there. You can't stay there forever, right? Then human mind will get bored. Then you would step out and do something that you enjoy doing. And you do it often enough, you become good at it. And then you extend your circle, try something more. And that's, in our regular life, that's the work you do. and you progress in your work. I mean, in corporate world, they'll say climbing the ladder, but even if you are a scientist, you're doing this experiment, then you go to the next one. So you have a path. It's you work hard, so there is some stress involved, but it's a good stress.
It's a good stress.
Yeah, it's called eustress, EU.
Eustress.
Yeah, eustress. And so that's good. And then, but then every now and then you will find yourself in a place where it's too much. It's overwhelm. It's no longer good stress. And it happens when a lot of times it's not your own choosing. Sometimes you find yourself, you're pushed there somehow.
Yeah.
Because of some external situations.
You have to do something you don't want to do.
You don't want some, you were not ready for it, let's say.
Yeah.
You were not ready for it and you were pushed there. So that's when the bad stress happens, right? Starts happening. But as long as you stay in the good stress, that's a good thing. And the line is not a fixed one. You can increase it. Your zone can get bigger by your experience. I have done this, and next let me try this.
Yeah.
So that's all good. You don't want to stay in your comfort zone all the time. So that's the benefit of stress.
Because you learn and grow outside your comfort
zone. Exactly. It's a learning.
And in that zone, outside of comfort zone, is this eustress.
Exactly.
This area where
before
you're challenged. Overwhelm. Yeah, you're challenged, but
in
your
a good
relationship to it is good. It's positive.
Positive, yeah. But then when you go to the overwhelm, is that your fourth question? Oh, okay.
Oh, you want to talk about overwhelm? We can make it the fourth question.
No. What's your fourth?
I don't know. We're making them up as we go along.
Oh, okay.
I didn't write any down.
Okay. So I mean, so if you talk about again relating to MBSR, so then we talk about overwhelmed, because people come because they're overwhelmed. Life is too much, right? So okay, so you are in the overwhelm stage, and what are you feeling? Feeling bad. It's too much. So then there are two parts to it. One is because of the external situation, and the other is because of your resistance to it. So, your thought is saying, I shouldn't be here. I'm no good. I can't handle it. This is too much. So all this internal thought that's happening, that is your secondary source. And that manifests in the body exactly the same way your primary overwhelm, which is coming from an external source, is doing it.
So then you have the external source, and then you have your own almost mirror internal source that's now exponentially,
it's just
increasing.
So you are caught in this loop
of stress.
You're feeling worse, and then all these negative thoughts come more and more, and then it also becomes a habit. So habit also has to do with it. So it becomes a habitual thinking pattern. So, but then if you do the practices, and during your practice, your meditation, whatever happens in your regular life will visit you during the meditation.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so, like what happened to me at the retreats. And then if in your own controlled, positive environment that you have created to practice, your chances of being able to handle that with the tools you have is greater. But the other side of the coin is that if you can do it there, you can also do it in your real life. because now you know that these are the tools I have. So you take those tools there. So you find yourself in the overwhelm zone. You can step back and use your tools, even if for 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Even if for 1 minute, you stop and breathe. So that takes care of it.
I remember STOP.
Yeah.
The STOP
The stop
acronym.
yeah.
Acronym.
Stop and rain. Rain is the other one.
STOP. What is T? Remember there was.
Yeah. Stop is just stop. T is take a deep breath.
Take a deep breath.
Yeah. STO is observe.
Observe your surroundings. Yeah.
Observe
5 senses.
Yeah. Observe what's happening in your body.
Oh, inside of your body.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's going on?
Yeah, because we only analyze, and we go from analyzing in the head to sensing it in the body.
So it's almost like our brain can manifest things.
Exactly.
Where they're not even there.
The minute you come to the body, you're back in the present moment.
Yeah.
And you bring in your kindness and you take care of it. Okay, let me stay here. Take a few more deep breaths.
Yeah.
That'll do. Or you see, is it helping? Oh, yeah, because when I was thinking, not knowing, my breath had stopped.
Shallow breathing or
Exactly.
or just holding your breath.
Exactly.
Yeah. You're not giving your body what you need.
So you need to give your body the nourishment, the oxygen.
And that's O, observe.
Observe. And then P is the proceed.
Proceed.
Proceed in a way that'll help you.
A mindful way.
Mindful way that'll help you.
Yeah.
And what that is, your options will emerge for you. So there is no prescribed formula. A teacher will tell you, do this.
Mm-hmm.
You see what emerges for you, and options do emerge. Yeah. And so I love it in the middle of the class, kind of about midway, week 5 usually. For some people, it starts even early in week 4, but usually week 5. And people will say that, something happened last week that I hadn't expected. This happens and, my stepson or my stepdaughter does this, and then I do this, and then before we know, we have gotten into an argument, and then this, and just the whatever happens, your own family dynamics. But then yesterday, she did exactly what she does always, and I heard a voice in my mind. Okay, she's just doing what she is, but I know better. And I can do this. And then I was surprised. Where did that come from?
Yeah.
Insight. So, insight. So how the insight is dependent on your context.
Yeah.
It's not a fixed thing.
No. And it takes that inner awareness, that kind of tuning into the body wisdom and having awareness that, you can make other choices.
Right. And then the scientists will tell you, they have seen that the prefrontal cortex of the brain is more developed, has more gray matter in the people who meditate. That is known. Scientists have found that. And the size of the amygdala, which is the reactive part of the brain,
smaller. What is the value of the gray matter? What does gray matter mean?
So the prefrontal cortex is right behind our forehead, which humans do.
That's executive functions and...
Executive functions, a lot of, I think Dan Siegel mentions several of them, 9 of them or something. But there is one, a lot of these develop in our childhood from the parent-child interactions, again, love and kindness play into it. If an adult has been kind and loving to you, your chances of being loving and kind is more.
Yeah.
Right? And that's why people who have had very difficult childhoods have more difficulty growing up. So because, you get stuck in your patterns. and a lot of those people come to MBSR people who have had childhood trauma. I make sure that you have a professional to deal with that, because I'm not a psychologist, I'm not a doctor, I'm just a teacher.
Right.
So have a therapist if you need, ready to help you. But there is one element, the intuitive wisdom, that comes only through meditation. This is what Dan Siegel mentioned in one of his talks I had attended. So a lot of research is going on. I don't know everything. I haven't read any new papers. I read a lot of papers when I was working on my certification qualification, but I'm not a scientist. I just teach. And so I'm not on top of that, but a lot more research is going on. Again, people do research on different aspects of mindfulness. Does it help this? If you are working on a particular, if you say you are a particular kind of doctor, and then your chances are you'll do studies in your area.
Right.
So then so there have been so many different studies, do headaches get better with mindfulness? Does blood pressure,
ADHD. I looked at the ADHD.
Yeah, I think I saw one of your programs on that.
Yeah.
So, people have been doing research on different aspects. And at one point I had checked at UMass website, they were all over the place. So many different ailments. They had done research on different papers, had published on it. So in general, there is known to be improvement. But then again, as a lay person, commonsensical way of thinking for me is that the body has wisdom to heal itself, right? Mm-hmm. You have that paper cut, your scratch, body, it gets healed next day, right? Right. So we all know that from our own experience. Body heals itself. Body breathes itself. Do we ask it to breathe? Yeah. There's so much that happens by itself. But when we are worried and our negative thinking happens, we prevent the body from healing itself. We prevent the body from breathing. It's almost like we stand in its way.
Yeah, because when you have intense stress, your body starts to shut down certain functions in order to give attention to this stress.
Yeah. And that's the evolutionary reaction that comes from the external situations.
Yeah. If you need to run away from a lion, instinct. Yeah, that's like the most important thing now. But we don't have lions chasing us.
We have paper tigers.
There was that, who was it that said, in my life, I've had many,
Mark Twain.
Yeah, Mark Twain said something. I'm paraphrasing. In my life, I've had many catastrophes, and some of them actually happened.
Yeah.
In our mind, we're fighting tigers, and we're, these catastrophes are always looming around the bend, and we're worried about, so many things that'll never occur.
Yeah. And so that letting be, that's how it works. Let the body heal itself.
Yeah.
So you get out of its way.
Yeah.
So John Kabat-Zinn says, get out of your own way.
Yeah.
You are blocking your own door.
Yeah.
So that understanding comes through MBSR.
Yeah.
Because people say, you understand these two kinds of stress. Not just the good stress and the bad stress, but even in the bad stress, there are two kinds. The one that comes externally. So Buddha called it the two arrows.
Yeah.
The arrow that
death by the Terrell Brock does that whole thing, death by the second arrow.
Yeah. So the one that the second one
Buddha
is
talks about it too. Yeah.
Yeah. So the Buddha talks in terms of arrows.
Yeah.
In those times, there were no guns.
Yeah.
Right.
It was a general and he got shot by an arrow.
Yeah. So there was one that somebody else shoots you, and then there's the one that you shoot yourself.
Shoot yourself.
Right? And the scientists call it the primary stress and the secondary stress, but it's the same thing.
Same thing.
Yeah. So So you can't do anything about the external
The
stress,
primary
the
stress.
primary stress, but do something about don't shoot yourself.
Right.
So by not shooting yourself, you come back from the overwhelm. You step back. You come back to the eustress.
Yeah.
It's challenging, and that's how your confidence also grows.
Right.
So you can do it.
And then you're giving your body what it needs to meet this challenge.
Yeah.
Whether it's a paper cut or whatever it is.
That's why your kindness comes in. You be kind to yourself.
Self-compassion.
Yeah, self-compassion, loving kindness.
Yeah.
So all of that, whether you blame yourself or you blame someone else.
Yeah.
But if you take care of your anger, then none of that blaming will go away. It's coming from that some kind of delusion. And then there is the other element, and that's in the other tool called RAIN. And this is not part of the MBSR, but RAIN was, that tool was first talked about by Michelle McDonald, I think, a teacher who does retreats also. I've never been to her retreats, but attended some of her talks online. So anyway, RAIN has one extra element, and that relates to the non-self element of Buddhism. You know, and so it's a non-identification. So take the I out of the equation.
Yeah.
Take the, you can pause and breathe. That gives you something. But you can just, even if your thoughts are coming, first check how many of those have personal pronouns in them. And then can you just change your language?
Yeah. Reframing.
Okay. Reframing.
What does RAIN stand for? It's an acronym, right?
Yeah.
What is
So
R?
R is recognize.
Recognize. So that's an awareness.
Yeah.
A.
I is investigate.
I, investigate.
Yeah. And then N is called natural awareness that comes from not identifying. So say, so and you can see how this is an element of the language.
Yeah, instead of saying I am angry, you say I'm feeling anger.
Or even take the I out. Anger is here.
Anger is present.
Anger is present.
Yeah.
When think about the time when we were children, before we had the I sense developed, there was still anger at times, right? Don't the babies, push the plate away when they're done, when they're full? So it is there. I don't have to go and grab it, even in the language.
Yeah.
But we have been taught, active voice is the right thing to do. Passive voice is weak. Right?
Yeah.
So that is again part of our culture, part of our training. But if we can be wise and see that, oh, this isn't helping me. I is getting unnecessarily entangled where it need not be.
Yeah.
Right? Anger is here, whether it's my anger or not. Before the I went and grabbed it. And that helps with this grasping, clinging.
Yeah.
If you take the I out, if there is no I, who is going to cling?
Yeah.
Right?
It allows for an easier dissipation of whatever emotion's present.
Yeah. So
there's not identification, subjectivity.
Right. So I ask people, so just change your language and see what happens. You don't have to buy into this concept of selflessness. Of course, there is a self. Of course, there is a stomach that needs food.
Yes.
And this is the way to do it.
Right.
And this hand is going to go do it. I mean, nowadays, this hand isn't. I learned to be left-handed after the fracture. So anyway, so that helps. But I'm sorry, I messed up your questions.
No, you're fine. You're perfect. Let's see, fifth question. I don't have a fifth question. Let's see, what am I curious about with stress? We've talked about the binary of success and failure. We've talked about benefits of stress and overwhelm.
You could talk a little bit maybe about the attitudes, kindness.
Yeah, what kind of attitudes are there around stress?
Yeah.
The mind, I guess it's mindset.
Yeah, mindset.
Yeah.
So John Kabat-Zinn actually identifies nine attitudes, and I don't think I can name them. They're very similar actually, but I'll just name a few, and you already mentioned, and I think we have talked about it, the beginner's mind.
Yeah.
Or they say don't know mind.
Yep.
I don't know everything.
Not a master.
Yeah, I'm not a master.
The master.
But I'm learning.
Yeah.
And learning is fun, right? Yeah. Learning is a lot of fun. So a teacher is always a student. I say that.
Yeah.
Teacher is a perpetual student. If I don't learn, I will cease to be a teacher.
Right.
Yeah. So that beginner's mind is very important. We talked about the curiosity, kindness, non-judgment, letting be. So acceptance doesn't mean sour grapes. It's not the, oh, because I can't have it. It's not, there's no resentment in it.
Yeah, it's not I'm just going to not want that in a mean way. It's more, this is the way it is.
This is the way it is. It is here anyway. Yeah. And so whether I like it or not, it's still here.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I know that nothing is permanent. So it's not going to be always here. So for now, not forever, not for my whole life.
Yeah.
For now, let it be.
Let it be.
Yeah.
Byron Katie talked about, do you know Byron Katie? Have you heard of her? She wrote a book called Loving What Is.
Okay. And
she talks a lot about, this is what it is.
Yeah.
Believe it.
Right.
And love it.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like letting it be.
Yeah.
Having a non-judgmental stance with it, or even the other side of a non-judgmental stance, appreciating it and loving it.
Yeah. And then the other element, again, we talk about it in MBSR, is our thinking mind believes in the thoughts. So just because when you said believe it, it's here, believe it. The other side of it could be, this thought is here, don't believe it. It's just a thought.
It's just a thought.
Yeah, just like the body, the itch comes and goes. In the mind, just look, thoughts come and go.
Yeah.
And you don't have to believe in it.
Yeah. Which ones do we grab down and put and where?
Yeah.
Which of these thoughts, because we do have so many of them.
Yeah, and we have our preferences, so we pick and choose, right?
Well, some of them seem to match with our identity.
Yeah.
That one fits with who I think that I am.
Right. And then, when you want to prove your point, you can argue in any way.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So, but you can think about it and, have fun. Oh, this is what I'm doing. Laugh at yourself.
Yeah.
If you don't believe every thought, you can have fun. Oh, that thought came. Oh, mind is cunning, right?
Yeah. Goodness, it seems like our mind can be, what's that saying? The mind is a good servant, but a poor master.
Yeah.
Because if the mind says so many different things, and it's constantly interpreting and wanting to figure out this world, and it's probably to help us.
Yeah.
But it's based on a past. It's based on, history.
Right.
And it's not. It can be not helpful at all.
Yeah.
Especially if you've had trauma or had different types of experiences. It can create a really scary world.
Right. And the fact that we are all growing, evolving beings.
Yeah.
I'm probably not the same person who walked in 2 hours ago.
Yeah.
right? You are probably not the same person.
We're never the same person.
We're never the same person.
What's that story? That saying you mentioned earlier, the metaphor of the river.
The river.
And the bank and the side was the teachings and and you and the students were the water. And that's that other saying that you never jump into the same river twice.
Exactly.
And we are that river that's forever changed by every experience. We're something different.
Yeah.
And I think the only thing that holds us back to a static sense of self is at times other people's view of us, calling us back into the past.
Right.
Calling us back.
We base our own views on that.
Yeah. So, well, I'll just be that. My mom talked to me like I was when I was 5, so I'll just be 5 for now.
Yeah.
Instead of holding on to whatever's present for us and being now.
Yeah. I mean, it's just amazing the things we do without knowing. So the raisin eating, you know, somebody once said in my class that, when I was in kindergarten, my mom used to put this little raisin box in my lunch, and I would eat it. It's an easy snack to eat, and I have been doing that all my life because it's easy to eat and gives you something. But today is the first time I tasted a raisin, he said, and I didn't even like it. And now I'm wondering why I'm eating this all my life.
Mindlessly eating something and finally giving it your attention and discovering I've been eating this garbage my whole life.
So, I mean, when we do things automatically versus doing things consciously.
Yeah.
So that's one difference, the change, the shift that happens. Getting all worked up and being overwhelmed to just stepping back and letting it be. Just for now, not forever, but just for now. That makes it easier. Being kind to ourselves. Not be so hard on yourself. Okay, you made a mistake. A lot of times we hold ourselves to higher standards. Love thy neighbor, or forgive someone else, but we don't forgive ourselves.
Yeah. So,
if you can be kind to someone else, why can't you be kind to yourself?
Oh, you should be kind to yourself first.
Yeah. But also the other side of that coin is that if you can be kind to someone else, and if you view yourself as someone else taking the self out,
yeah, if you can be kind.
You can be kind, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, all these different concepts,
these attitudes,
when you experiment attitudes, you change one, the others will change.
Yeah.
They feed into each other.
These are attitudes around stress.
Yeah.
You mentioned kind of a non-judgmental stance, curiosity, beginner's mind, open-mindedness. We talked about a bunch of different attitudes around experience.
Yeah.
Things that can help the negative stress become eustress, which is good stress.
Good stress.
We need stress.
Yeah.
Stress is a part of life.
Part of life.
Part of growing.
It's part of growing and learning.
Yeah. If you're not feeling stressed, you're probably not excelling or advancing.
So there's this understanding when you cross that line, when you go to the overwhelmed state, and then that's when you pause, that's when you breathe, you practice your stop or rain, and options will emerge, and you will find out, maybe you'll stop and get a cup of tea or take a walk or pet your dog or, whatever.
Well, what we probably do is we put in positive tools. I was raised in a very traumatic environment. And I think that's what's led me to be a seeker, someone who's, trying to heal myself and then give back in some way with the show and other things. But my original tools for navigating overwhelm was really distraction, whether it was drugs or alcohol or, just shutting down or avoidance or dissociation through all kind of different tools. And all of those took me further away from my body, further away from the type of health that allows the body to heal, that allows the mind to heal. So these tools for me, the MBSR was providing some healthy coping strategies or resources to regulate my body and my mind. Because, the trauma that one experiences when they're a child is that first arrow. And you could shoot yourself with an arrow the rest of your life. Just arrow after arrow. And I think a lot of folks in America and probably all around the world do that. We have a lot of addiction. We have a lot of, whether it's with food. The substance or the pathway to this is there's so many.
Right.
But I think the cure is this healthy movement, breathing, awareness into your body. Taking a step back.
Because if you stay in the overwhelmed state long enough, then it becomes chronic. Never goes away. And your threshold is already so high that just a little bit you add to it and you are off.
You're in it.
And then you are going...
Because you're always kind of subtly in it.
And then
rumination.
Instead of pausing and coming back, you go further and then you enter the danger zone. And that's what happened to you when you do maladaptive coping.
Right.
Drug or alcohol or, not caring, not thinking, doing whatever.
Doing just like dangerous or just having a bunch of impulsive behaviors that aren't really in your best interest. You kind of need to.
So that's the thing, to know when you are crossing the eustress and going to the overwhelm, pausing, breathing, you're doing your stop there.
Those are the 5 questions we kind of weaved around there. Before we talk about your life story for a little bit, I want to play a little game.
Oh.
Do you want to play an improv game?
As long as I don't have to move.
We won't move this arm.
Okay. Then it's okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
We could play. Did you watch any of my?
I did.
Where we played games.
I mean, so clapping and doing. I can do with my left hand, but my
the mirror stuff. Well, we'll make sure we accommodate.
Okay.
We'll accommodate your hand. Let's see. I play these improv games because I think they're fun, and it's nice to invite some laughter and some childlike play.
Sure.
One is called Soundball. Did you watch that one, Soundball, or Meerkat?
Yeah, I think I've watched both of those in the last one you sent me.
Yeah, I played that with Terry Cortez Vega.
Yeah, as long as I can do with one hand.
Which do you like? We'll play Soundball first.
Okay.
Do you remember how it goes?
You make a sound and some hand gestures and I copy or something?
Yeah, and then you make one and pass it back.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, I'll start. Okay, let's see.
The dog.
The dog wants to play. Okay.
Maybe that's enough.
Okay. Let's try Meerkat for a second. This one will be, I'll be the You'll be the mirror to me for a second. Like I'm looking in a mirror.
Mm-hmm.
So you'll be the mirror. And then you'll take it at a certain point and I'll follow you. And no one will really know who's controlling this. We'll pass it back and forth. So have your attention on. All right, yeah.
Played games where one person sort of becomes the puppeteer
Mm-hmm.
and the other
Yeah.
person follows.
Yeah.
And then I remember one time we were playing it and I was the puppet and this other person. So we were inside the room playing it. And then at some point she opened the door and went outside and I stopped.
Yeah.
And it was like, and she said, "Why did you stop?" I said, "Well, I don't know if I'm supposed to do it outside." So now thinking about it, how we have all these built-in rules
Yeah.
that we follow,
Mm-hmm.
internal rules.
Yeah.
So we question everything in MBSR.
Question everything.
Yeah.
Open mind,
Open
that
mind.
beginner's mindset.
Beginner's mind. Yeah.
What's controlling our behaviors? What's our default network? What's I had if you'll watch one of the other videos I did with Dave Cuthrell, he's a mindfulness teacher, teaches meditation, and he's gone to a lot of these retreats. I'm sure some of the ones you've mentioned. When we played these games, he felt anxiety. He felt stress, and it mapped, I think, to this idea that to be seen as a child, to be seen playing games and being silly was a scary place for him.
Yeah.
Because of some of those
Right.
things you're saying.
Yeah. And things like that come up in the MBSR class. In class 2, we do this puzzle, 9-dot puzzle.
Mm-hmm.
You must have done it. It's a hard one. And so we do that when we go to the perception. So what is there in your perception that is keeping you? Like I said, oh, I'm not sure that I'm supposed to do it outside.
Mm-hmm.
It's sort of like that in the 9-dot puzzle. So then we question, is it in the instruction? Where does it say that you cannot go?
Yeah.
So it's really fun teaching MBSR.
Heck yeah.
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 It has been nice chatting.
Yeah.
It's nice to chat with people who also are in the path, are also doing those things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can we talk a little bit about, in the remaining time we have, can we talk a little bit about your history?
Oh, my history.
Yeah, where are you from?
I was born and raised in India.
Where in India?
In the eastern part of India, in a state named Odisha.
Orissa.
Yeah. And
Was it a big city or a small town?
it was the biggest town in that state.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a small town if you want to compare in today's standards.
Yeah.
And I lived in India until I married.
Until you married.
Yeah. And then I came to US.
What was your childhood like?
I grew up in a family with, I have a brother and 2 other sisters. So we were 4 of us, and parents, and a middle class family. My father was also an educationist. He was taught in a college and then later did administrative work as the principal of a college. And then he was a dean, I think, at some point, and a vice chancellor at one point. So anyway, that
And your
was
mom?
my mom was very loving and very strict.
Was she stay-at-home mom? Or
She
did she
was a
work?
no, she didn't work. She only had maybe a year of college,
Okay.
not more than that. She married quite young.
You said two things that sometimes are in opposition. You said she was very loving, and then you said she was strict.
Very strict.
Yeah, very strict.
She,
How did those work together?
because there were rules. There were rules, and we obeyed the rules.
You had to obey the rules.
Yeah, I mean, that was a different time. Nobody questioned.
Is this when you'd get hit by a sandal or something if you didn't obey the rules?
My parents never disciplined us.
Never
Physically disciplined us.
Okay.
Never.
I interviewed Pratim, a gentleman who we talked about Tantra, and he was from India, and he said he got slapped a lot growing up.
It just depends on the people.
But you guys didn't.
Never.
Well, how did you get disciplined? How?
So, my mother always made us see the consequence of our actions. She was very good at that. So, but, there were things we were supposed to do. We all had our chores very wisely distributed. Like I was always a slow eater. I would be the last one to finish my meals. So I had to clean up, clean the table, take the, do the dishes, all that I had to do. My sister was a late riser. She had to make the beds. So it was all very logically divided and we didn't question it. It made sense to us.
Yeah.
And we played a lot of games in the family. And my mother was somewhat religious. My father wasn't that much religious. My father had a reputation for being very honest. And his students respected him a lot. So I would say I was very lucky to grow up in the family that I grew up in. And they instilled some good values in me. My parents did. But then I had a sheltered life. I lived at home. I'd never left home. And then I married and I came to US.
How old were you?
I was 22.
22. You were confused. You don't remember.
Yeah, I mean,
Or you think it's old or
like
young, or what was the face?
22. It's kind of young, I think.
You think that's young?
Yeah, I mean, I think I grew up maybe 10 years in my first 2 years here.
Was it an arranged marriage?
It was.
Okay.
Yeah.
So had you ever met your...
I had met him and the families knew each other. My husband's father was a lawyer. My maternal grandfather was a judge. So they were in the, same legal business.
Did you like the guy? Did you like your husband before you married him? You did?
I did, yeah. I did. We talked for a little bit. And
for a little bit.
Yeah, I mean like an hour or so.
And then you got married.
Yeah.
You talked for an hour.
No, then actually he left. He had come to visit and then he left and he was still a student doing his PhD and he was supposed to finish his thesis and come back and we were supposed to get married And that was supposed to take 6 months, but it took a year. So,
Mm-hmm.
it could go that way. So there was a whole year he was here. And so we did correspond by mail.
Mm-hmm.
No email.
No email back then.
No phone.
Snail mail?
Snail
Oh
mail.
my
Yeah,
goodness.
snail mail.
That would take a long time.
Yeah. So we did that. So I kind of knew a little bit, but I mean, you don't really know somebody until you live together. So, and then there was the cultural clash coming to America.
Where did you come in America? Where did you land?
Landed in New York, and then he lived in Maryland at the time.
Maryland, yeah.
Yeah, and then so that's where we lived for the first 18 months.
Mm-hmm.
And then he got the faculty position at UT, and we moved here to
You're
Austin.
still married to him.
Yeah,
That was who I
50
met.
years.
That's who I met who dropped you off.
Yeah.
Yeah, he seems like a cool guy.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah.
So it has been 50 years.
What's he teaching at UT?
He's retired now. He's a emeritus. He taught computer science.
Oh, computer science.
Yeah.
Y'all were married how long?
50.
50 years.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. That's an anomaly these days, isn't it?
Among Indians, maybe not.
The Indians don't get divorced.
In my generation, I mean, they do. It's increasing now. In my generation, it's not uncommon to be married a long time.
Yeah.
Our parents married for life, and his parents and my parents, and everybody I know pretty much in my family. So, it doesn't occur to you to do otherwise.
Yeah.
You just treat it as a commitment, lifetime commitment, and you adjust.
Yeah. What were so one watershed moment for you, or one big transition or change in your life was coming to America and the cultural clash?
The culture clash. So, this was before television. Okay.
What year was this? This was
70. We got married in 72.
How old are you?
I was 22.
No, how old are you now?
I am.
Is this a bad thing to ask a woman?
74.
Some people say you're not supposed to ask women their age.
It's okay.
You're 74.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so this was when you were 24.
50 years in Austin. I came to Austin in 74.
Mm-hmm.
So 50 years in
I was born in 77. You moved here before I was born.
Yeah. Lived pretty much all my life in Austin. I've seen the city grow. Population was 250,000.
When you moved here?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a long time ago.
Yeah. Austin ended. I mean, yeah, there was some South Austin. On the other side of the river, it went somewhat, but on the north side, pretty much 183 was the limit. There was no 360.
Yeah.
There was no Mopac.
Yeah. That was a train
35,
track, right?
Yeah, train track. Balcones Drive. And then the train on the east, how far did it go on the east? Maynard Road, maybe? I don't know.
What was the cultural clash for you? What was the main challenge?
I loved it when I moved to Texas because the climate was more like India.
It's hot in India?
Oh boy, is it hot.
Hotter than Texas?
It's more humid.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It rains 60 inches a year, the part of India where I grew up. But all of that happens in 3 months. So we have the rainy season, the monsoons.
Mm-hmm.
And then the rest of the year is pretty dry. But it's still pretty humid. So in Maryland, I mean, the biggest problem was the winter.
It's so cold.
I was not used to cold. I'd never worn shoes in my life.
You've never worn shoes?
No.
Never?
No. You just wear slippers.
What did you wear? You wear slippers?
Yeah, just slippers. And if you run barefoot. Now it has changed. People in those days didn't have that much money. That was not far after the independence. So my husband was born in 1947, the year just after independence.
For India?
For India. India got independent from the British in 1947.
Okay.
2 months after that, my husband was born. I was born 3 years later. So the cultural surrounding, there was a lot of hope. We are independent. There was pride that we won independence without violence.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of Gandhian thoughts, a lot of patriotism in a good way,
Mm-hmm.
A lot of hope. And so I knew that, okay, my grandmother did not finish high school. She went only up to 5th grade. My mother finished high school. I would finish college. So, being a woman, that's a lot.
That was a big deal.
That's a big deal.
Did you finish college?
I did a master's.
You went further than finishing college.
Yeah.
You did college extra.
Yeah.
What'd you get your master's in?
Well, I have a master's in computer science from UT.
Okay.
And then I worked as a programmer. You said you were
I'm a software engineer. Yeah, I did that for 10 years or so.
I did that for 16 years.
Wow.
And then I quit.
Your husband probably helped you a little bit? Because he was teaching computer science, right?
He was teaching computer science. I tried to avoid his class, but then he was teaching one core class I had to take. So I was in one of his classes. But then
he better not give you an F, that's for sure. Our dinner would be late.
So that's why I didn't want to take his class.
I know, I'm just joking. Yeah.
But I was always a good student.
Yeah.
Growing up, that was one of my values, to do your best. So that wasn't too much of a problem. But, just not knowing the culture, I didn't know. I couldn't speak English that well. I could, but I could write better than I could speak.
Yeah.
Read and write better than I could speak. I did not understand some of the American accents.
Mm.
So conversation was a little, I was conscious about that. I was conscious about, there were not very many Indians. I was conscious about.
In Texas, in Austin, Texas, you must have been a small.
But actually, I felt better coming to Texas because there were more brown-skinned people here.
Hispanic folks.
Yeah.
People from Mexico.
Yeah, and they were very friendly.
Yeah.
And they would talk to you in Spanish knowing that you don't understand.
But just because you're tan, they would think, I speak Spanish to tan folks.
Right. So the first day we moved to Austin, it was raining. And I felt so good. Oh, it's raining, just like home.
Mm-hmm.
And then, there are some people, these people look like us. And then, they come and they seem very friendly and slow going, easy going. In Maryland, the winter was hard. I was dying to see snow. Never seen it in my life. But I didn't know how to walk in snow, so I fell quite a bit.
Yeah.
And I was driving a long distance. We lived in College Park. I went to school. We lived in Gaithersburg, and I went to college in College Park, Maryland.
Okay.
University of Maryland. So that was a long drive.
And it seems like there weren't tan folks there. There weren't people that looked like you.
There weren't that many
white folks.
It was mostly white folks. They were much taller. So in India, I was a tall girl, believe it or not.
How tall were you?
I have shrunk a little bit. I think I was 5'4".
And that was tall.
That was tall.
So a lot of Indian people a little bit shorter?
They are taller now.
They're taller now.
Because food habits have changed, I think.
Ah,
People are eating better,
so they're growing taller.
growing taller, I guess. So I was one of the tallest girls in my class
At 5'4".
at 5'4". And here, people just looked so big. I wasn't used to, I wasn't used to seeing winter leafless trees.
Oh yeah.
And that was very strange landing in New York in January and then being driven on the highway and it's cold and I see the trees. I mean, I'm looking to nature for sympathy and I'm seeing like trees that look dead.
And you didn't have any shoes on? Oh my goodness.
I think we bought some shoes for me. We stopped for a day in Brussels on the way.
Okay.
So we bought a pair of shoes and a jacket.
Yeah, you're gonna need that.
Yeah, yeah. So I did have that when I landed in New York, but it was still cold. And then the cars were, I don't know if you have ever been to India. In India,
I've never been.
but you must have seen in television nowadays, Those days were pre-television days, so I had no idea what to expect. I had seen some picture postcards. My father came to America before I was born.
Mm-hmm.
He went to Cornell University. He had a PhD from there in education.
Yeah.
So anyway, I didn't know a lot of things. I didn't know anything really. How to talk, how to dress myself, and people stared at me a lot.
They did?
Yeah.
Did you experience
Because
racism or anything like that? Anything negative?
I wouldn't say racism per se, but just people felt, they stared at you. You were weird. You were different.
Because you were different.
Yeah, the unfamiliarity.
Yeah, so they would look at
Yeah.
you
And
probably
people
with
were
some
nice too.
curiosity.
Yeah, curiosity. People were nice. People were friendly.
Mm-hmm.
So I think, so my children are darker skinned than me.
Mm-hmm.
My son, my older son is quite dark. And I think he probably experienced growing up here more racism than I did.
Mm.
Or at least racist or subtle racism, maybe.
Microaggressions.
Yeah, something like that. Or just people making assumptions by your looks,
Yeah.
that kind of thing. Some of that had happened to me too. For example, people will look at me and assume something. Maybe they have a image in their mind, perception again.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm in some meeting and something would come up and I would provide my input. So the minute I open my mouth, they feel somewhat awed. Maybe they weren't expecting me to speak or to speak the way I spoke.
They expected you to have like a Hispanic accent?
I have no idea, but somebody sometimes would say, "So where did you learn your English?" So maybe they didn't expect me to speak English without making errors. So there were, little things like that.
Yeah.
I can't call them racism. It's just unfamiliarity.
Yeah.
I was unfamiliar. They were unfamiliar with my ways. After I didn't have any Western clothes, I was dressing in Indian clothes. So that would attract.
Were those very different?
Yeah, I was wearing a sari.
Okay.
And, very different. The red dot.
You had the dot?
I don't wear it anymore. But, you must have seen.
Yeah, I've seen those.
Yeah. So people were very curious about it.
Yeah.
And now they have the stick-ons. In those days, it was either a powder or a paste. And so I would have that and I would forget and I would go in the swimming pool. And then one time a child was worried, thinking that I was bleeding. You know, there were little things like that.
Yeah.
Uh,
So you lived 50 years here in Austin, Texas.
right. Long time.
That is a long time.
Yeah.
That's longer than most. And you raised kids here.
I raised 2 boys.
2 boys.
Yeah. Yeah. My my son has a theory that women who have only boys become tougher, and men who have only girls mellow over the years.
I have 2 girls.
Have you mellowed over the years?
I think I'm mellowing. Well, my experience is I've got 2 girls. They're 12 and 16. They both have reached the age of menstruation. There can be a lot of emotions going around, and I have to hold through those,
Yeah.
stay grounded, and provide something for them to co-regulate too, as opposed to me. And historically, I've risen
Yeah.
to the frequency, the emotions that were present.
Yeah.
And it's just, it escalates when that happens. And then it gets a little out of control and overwhelming for everybody.
Yeah.
When the parent is moving towards the emotional state of the kids.
Yeah.
So I've been practicing, and I think getting better at holding and being calm through, all kind of wild throes of emotion, which I think could be considered mellowing.
Yeah.
Because sometimes those girls have big, big emotions, and they'll share them with me.
That's good. Yeah. So, I mean, that's the thing, being an immigrant, raising kids in a different culture. So on one hand, you want to give them the best of both cultures, but you don't have anyone to help you. I mean, right now the population is large and but when I was raising children, there were very few Indians here. Of course, we didn't have any family. So I had to learn everything by the book, how to be a parent and and then I wasn't familiar with what kids, especially boys, go through in the American school system. Elementary school was very nice. The teachers were very nice and kind. Problems would start in middle school, high school, kind of.
Yeah.
And then, raising boys isn't easy. They can go out, not come back in time. And then we had fights. I called them rules, and my son called it curfew. And I said, no, it's just a rule, and we all follow it. I'm not asking you to follow any rule I don't follow myself.
Yeah. But he probably wanted to stay out with his friends late, or
Yeah, and it just got, the times change. So I have a lot of years between my children, and then the my older one thinks that his brother is of a different culture because of the age difference of a different generation.
Yeah.
Things had changed so much, and my older son didn't have a cell phone. They were not there, not that common.
Yeah.
And my younger one has a phone, and he wouldn't even tell me where he's going. So you can reach me by my phone. Okay.
It's a new day.
And then now it's a whole different ball game with social media and all that.
Yeah.
It's hard raising
It is hard.
children in this age, I think. So anyway, so I just learned and did my best.
Do your kids speak the language, the native? What is the language that you spoke
So
in
the language is
India?
called Odia.
Odia.
Yeah.
Do they speak Odia?
They understand. My older one understands more. He speaks it when he visits India and he's left with people who don't speak English and he's forced to, then he would do it.
when he's got to find the bathroom.
Right. And then I have heard from other people that he speaks okay,
Yeah.
but he wouldn't speak with me. I have a grandson. My grandson is 16 years old.
Oh,
Yeah.
how's that going?
Oh, that's the best thing to do. Best thing is in life is to have grandchildren.
Yeah.
It's so different because you don't raise grandchildren, you just play with them.
Yeah.
And that changes the whole relationship. So, I'm relaxed, he's relaxed. And I was very close to my grandmother,
Mm-hmm.
and my grandson is quite close to me.
Oh,
So,
that's got to be wonderful.
yeah. So, and my grandson wanted to learn Odia.
He did.
Yeah.
Did you teach him?
He's good with languages.
Yeah?
Yeah. He knows Chinese. He was bilingual from birth. He speaks Spanish fluently because he had a nanny
Mm-hmm.
who spoke Spanish. And then he took Chinese on his own.
Whoa.
And he's just really good at languages. And then he comes to us for summer, spends time with us. And then one day he said, "Can you teach me Odia?" On his own.
Yeah.
He learned the alphabet, not just to speak, but to write.
Uh-huh.
And then because he knows languages, he would ask me questions. And he loves music. And he plays classical guitar.
Oh, I like this guy. He sounds like a good kid.
He's a great kid. Yeah.
Well, I think that's all questions I have. I'm just really enjoying talking to you now.
Yeah. I forgot that, I'm talking about my family on records. I don't know.
I think
It's
all
okay.
of this is wonderful stuff. I think part of knowing the spiritual person is knowing other parts of them, humanizing them. You're a person with many dimensions.
Mm,
And one of your dimensions is how you were raised
yeah.
and what you value and
It's
your life.
true. It's true. I mean, like how you're raised and then how you grow in your adult life.
Mm-hmm.
So I have done things in life I never thought I could do. Like when I quit working because I wanted to be a stay-home mom. That's
Mm-hmm.
why I quit. And but then other things just happened,
Yeah.
and I ended up developing an organization in Austin that helps battered women.
Really? What's it called?
Now it's called AFSA, Asian Family Support Services of Austin,
To help battered women.
who are from different Asian countries,
Okay.
who don't go to the the mainstream organizations to
Mm-hmm.
get help
Yeah.
because they feel that they won't be understood culturally.
Yeah.
So this organization was forming when I had just quit my job. And so I was trying to find something to do because I had never stayed home. So when my children were in school, I wanted to find something to do.
Yeah.
So then I heard about SAFE, what is called SAFE now. It used to be called Center for Battered Women at that time.
Mm-hmm.
So I started volunteering there, and then this group was also forming. So I was kind of volunteered in both places. Then we started getting phone calls. We had our hotline. And then immigrants had so many different problems that citizens don't have because if they're, so in those days, in 1994, the Violence Against Women Act passed for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
and that helped immigrants to be able to stay, immigrant battered women get a visa status to stay in the US. Before that, your husband kicks you out of the house, you are kicked out of the country.
Oh my goodness.
And you have no way to stay here because
And your family could be here, your kids.
you may have kids. He may keep your kids because they're
Yeah.
citizens.
Yeah.
So there are so many problems that nobody knew about it. And so I got very interested in the legal aspects of this, being an immigrant. So I did a lot of legal advocacy work in the Safe Place. So it used to be called Center for Battered Women, then Safe Place, and now it's called Safe, just Safe Alliance, I think. So I started working, and I was looking for daytime work. So I went to middle schools, high schools, did a presentation called Teen Dating Violence Prevention. That was Safe Places' signature program. They had developed it here in Austin. There weren't that many programs all over the nations like that before. Austin was quite first there. And then, and I did legal advocacy. I went to the courthouse with the women to be with them when they go through hearings for protective order, divorce. And then being an immigrant, I would take them to the immigration office in San Antonio to get their visa status changed, do all the applications for applying under this new law. So in 1995, so we were getting clients before the regulations were even being written. The law passed, regulations were still being written.
Yeah.
I went to the same classes to learn about it that the lawyers were going to. I was the only non-lawyer in the class.
Yeah.
So anyway, so I got interested in those things, and I had never thought I could even think about doing anything like that.
And you were helping people.
I was helping people. But one of the, how one thing relates to the other and how things relate to spirituality. I was interested in the Vedantic tradition that I come from and the teachings, what is there in the Upanishads. So any of those teachers would come, I would go to those talks. And then I was learning, how to live myself, work and raise children, and then also how to help people who have nobody to help them.
Yeah.
And but what I was noticing is that even after you come out of the crisis situation and you sort of are better, abuse free, the trauma of the abuse stays with you.
Yeah. PTSD or complex PTSD.
And also the inability to trust people.
Yeah. Changes your view of the world.
Exactly. If somebody who you trusted abuses you, even when you are an adult, I mean, for children, it's even harder.
Yeah.
But even as an adult. So all those things I had noticed, that I didn't have all the skills to help the people, that there needs to be more. There needs to be more that combines the whole person. We were providing the necessary survival skills to people. We were helping them how to navigate the systems. But after that, how to take care of the residues that are left with you.
The mental, the psychological.
All that. Even after you go through your groups and all that, people had also said that I had noticed that people who have faith of some sort or some spiritual life in addition to their whatever, they seemed more at peace. So it was, a search to help myself, to help family, also to help community, and at different levels. So at some point, I noticed that, okay, I got the organization to this level. We were an all-volunteer organization for 12 years.
Wow.
So finally, we had money to hire our first executive director. And I said, okay, now she can take over. I could do only this much.
Yeah.
And now it's all yours. So I got out of there. And so I call myself twice retired.
Yeah.
16 years in software, 12 years in, I don't know what you call it. I call myself a community volunteer.
Yeah.
And then I was thinking of ways that would take me to my old age. And
Ways to contribute and give back to the world.
Contribute in a different way.
But help people.
Not so much go-getting.
Yeah.
More in a relaxed way.
Right.
Something I can age with. Something that would help me as well as others.
Yeah.
And then so I had tried doing things. I was teaching meditation. I learned it from a Hindu monk. And I was doing a weekend retreat teaching meditation. But then, and after that, I came to find MBSR. And I said, that's what I want.
Yeah.
Because that opens up more doors.
Yeah.
It's secular.
Secular. It combines the wisdom of the East with the science and the backing of the West. That
and
complementary.
Complementary.
The methods.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, long story.
Oh my goodness. I'm so grateful that you share it with me. It's such a wonderful life of helping people.
It's a learning.
And learning.
It's a learning. I mean, I learn from everyone I help.
Yeah.
I learn from everyone. And that's also part of the culture. I mean, I think we have all kinds of stories in India. Somebody asked, who is your teacher? And he named like 15 things. Some of them were, animals and inanimate objects. And, so, you can learn from anybody and everybody and just keep your doors open.
Yeah.
And mind open.
Mind open. Yeah. Is there anything you want to share before we start to wrap up?
I think I have shared more than you wanted to know.
No, I think it's been wonderful. I was glad to hear all of that.
So I don't know. I'm worried about, it seems like we're talking naturally, but sometimes I forget that, oh, you're recording me.
Yeah, we're recorded. I don't think you've said anything that
That's okay.
Anybody would have a challenge with, or that you would feel bad about sharing. I don't think.
It's okay.
I hope.
It's done.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
I've never done that. I don't think. I don't know.
You've never done this?
I have given interviews with my other work with
the helping folks.
Yeah. But not my life story.
Not your life. Well, I really love hearing people's life stories.
Okay.
I love knowing my fellow man, my fellow woman, what their life was like. It helps me kind of, I don't know, understand more. There's so many different people out there and so many different ways that they come into being who they are.
Yeah. Yeah, no, life is about learning. That's all.
Yeah.
And a teacher is always a student.
Yeah.
That's my last sentence, I guess.
Yeah, teacher is always a student.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's perfect. Well, this has been Phil Phails at Stress. Well, my guest is, let me get your information here.
Mamata.
Mamata, yeah. Misra. and she is a certified MBSR teacher. Phails at Stress. And it's been a pleasure, Mamata, to share this time with you and to hear your story and to learn about MBSR and stress and mindfulness. Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you.
You want to wave bye to everybody? Bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you for watching. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's it. Thank you so much.